Hello, Star with Julie lovers. Happy New Year to you all, and welcome to 2024. This is to say a big thank you to all my subscribers for being amazing. If you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Kindly hit the subscription button and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to draft and cut an English trouser for ladies. It can be a short trousers, it can be long trousers, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be doing a short trousers. But kindly note that you can apply this method on your long trousers. The length doesn't matter, the fitting will also be the same. If this is what interests you, please kindly watch to the end and practice it. It's beginner friendly. If you are a beginner, then this is for you. So let's dive into the video. So to draft this pattern, I'm going to be needing my pattern paper and my marker or my pencil. I'm using a pencil right now. And then I'm also going to be needing my tape rule, my scissors, and of course, my measurement book and my ruler. So the measurement I'm using is a waist of 28 inches, a hip of 40 inches, a crotch length of 10 inches, a thigh length or a lap of 22 inches, a short length, which is the trouser length of 22 inches, and then the trouser mouth, that's the round trouser mouth of 18 inches. So after that, that particular line I marked there is going to be my starting point. It's just for me to know where I am starting my measurement. Now I'm going to mark my hip line. That's the measurement from my hip, from my waist to my hip, and it's going to be 9. But I'm going to minus 2 inches from it because I'm going to be adding a band on this short, and it's a band of 2 inches. So that 2 inches for the band, I'll minus it like so, and then I'll mark my 9 inches. That's why you see me pushing the tape upwards from 2 inches. Okay, so I mark my 9 inches and then I mark a straight line. If you notice, if instead of 9 inches, because I minus 2 inches, I'll be having 7 inches, but when I add my band, it will complete it 9 inches. Now I'm going to mark my crunch line. I'm not going to minus 2 inches like the way I did on the hip line for when I'm marking my crunch line. My crunch length is 10. So I'm going to mark that 10 exactly starting from the beginning like so. And then after that, I'll connect the lines together to get a straight line on my crotch line. Then after that, the next measurement I'm going to take is the thigh line. That's where I'm going to impute my thigh measurement or my lap measurement. And it's usually 2.5 inches to 3 inches from your crunch line. Okay, so now I'm going to be using 3 inches for my crunch line to achieve this. So I'm going to mark 3 inches from the crunch line downwards. Then I'll make a straight line like so, and that will serve as my thigh line. Then the next horizontal measurement I'm going to take is the length, the full length of the short that I'm making, which is 22 inches. Now, because I am adding a band of 2 inches, I'm also going to minus that 2 inches from my length. So if I minus the 2 inches from my length of 22 inches, then what I will have will be 20 inches. And then again, I'm also going to add 2 inches for the folding allowance, because I'm going to fold the hem of the dress, of the short. Okay, now when I add the 2 inches, then it's going to be the same 22 inches. That's what I will get. That means minusing 2 inches for my band, I'm supposed to have 20 inches. Then adding another 2 inches for the folding allowance, that will make it the same 22 inches. So when I fold the hem, then I'm going to still have 20 inches. Then when I now add my band, I will have my complete 22 inches. I hope you understand it. All right, so after marking that, the next thing I'm going to do is also to mark a straight line like I did on the other lines, okay, to get a straight line on my hem measurement. So this will serve as my full length. All right, so after getting this measurement, then I know that all my horizontal measurements lines are drawn also. I hope you guys are seeing this very well actually. I've run out of markers, so I'm using pencil, but I hope you guys are seeing it. All right, so I'm going to label my lines. This will serve as my hip line, and then this will serve as my thigh line or my lap line, and then this will serve as my crunch line. The second line actually is my crunch line, then the last one is my thigh line or my lap line. Okay, so we have the hip line, the crunch line, the thigh line, and then also we have the waist line. So this will serve as my waist. Now on the waist line, the hip line, and on the crotch line, I'm going to measure the quarter of my hip measurement. My hip measurement is 40, right? So I'm going to divide 40 by 4, which will give me 10. So I'm going to mark that 10 on my crunch line, my hip line, and also my waistline, just to get a straight line from my waistline down to my crotch line, like so. So I'm going to use my pattern master to mark a ruler, to rule it straight, to connect the lines together like so. So after that, the next thing I am going to get is to get the full length of my flap. Like, you know, like where your flap, the flap of your trouser would be, that's your thigh, your crotch length, right? So to achieve that, I'm going to divide the quarter of my hip. You know, we got 10 for my quarter, the quarter of my hip. So that same 10 I got as the quarter of my hip, I'll divide it by 4. So that will give me 2.5. So you divide the quarter of your hip by 4 and then give you 2.5. Whatever you have as your hip, the quarter of that hip is what you will divide. Then after that, from my crotchlets up to my hip line, I am going to go up by 1.5 inches, like so. Then I will use my curve ruler to connect the two lines together, like so. So I went up by 1.5 inches from my crotch line to my hip line, okay? And then remember, I divided the quarter of my hip measurement by 4, and that gave me 2.5. So from that place where my hip measurement starts, that is from the 10 where it starts, I marked that 2.5 inches, and that's how I connected it. So now I'm going to get the midpoint of this crotch. That will be my new crotch length right now. So I'm going to get the midpoint, which is 12.5 inches. Remember, we got 10 as the hip, quarter of our hip, plus the 2.5 inches, which is the quarter of our hip divided by 4 that we did. So plus them together, that's 12.5, right? So you divide 12.5 by 2 and you have 6.025. So that 6.025, I'm going to mark it all around the lines, both on the hem, the hip, the crotch, the thigh, and the waist, just to get a straight line that will serve like our dart line. Now after that, I'm going to mark my dart leg. Because this is the front trousers, I am going to be using 4 inches as the length of my dart. Then coming to the upper part on my waist, on the dart line, I'm going to come out by 0.5 inches and go in by 0.5 inches, like so. Then I'll connect the line like that, just to form my dart leg, like so. So after marking that, then this will serve as my front dart length, okay? So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to take my body measurement. The body measurement will be going towards this side, facing me, coming to me, instead of going the other way that we know about. So it's to be coming backward, like towards where I am, okay? So now I'm going to measure my waist measurement divided by 4, which is 28 divided by 4, which is 7, plus the 1 inch allowance I took for the darts, so that will make it 8. Then I'll connect it to the hip line. Remember, we already got our hip quarter of our hip measurement, which is 10, and we've already marked it. So we're not adding another thing there. So we just connect the waist to the hip like so. So then after that, I use the straight ruler to connect them. You can decide to use a curve, but I prefer straight ruler. Later I will blend it for it not to be sharp, and that gives me a perfect fitting that I want. So after that, the next measurement I'm going to be taking, I'm going to be dividing them, putting them in these two lines. I'm using that line as a guide right now. So my thigh measurement is 22, right? 22 divided by 2, that is 11. So that's 11. That is 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. So I'm going to place 5.5 at the middle of the dot line, and then I'll get the first one down there before I get the second one, which is making it 11. I hope you understand it. You place the 5.5 on the dart leg, then you get your first 5.5, then you get the other one facing your hip side. Okay, so we have the front, and then the center front and the side front. So you'll be dividing your measurement on both sides like so. So after that, I connect them together. Then I now blend the sharp area on my hip side like so. Just not for it not to be sharp. We don't have any part of our body that is sharp, so I'm going to blend it. Then after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to connect the other lines from my crotch length to where my thigh length stopped. So after this, the next measurement we'll be doing is the trouser mouth. We have 18 as a trouser mouth. So 18 divided by 2, that is 9. So that same 9, I'm going to divide it by 2 to get 4.5, right? So when I divide it by 2 and I have my 4.5, then the next thing I'm going to do is to place the 4.5 at the middle. Just the same thing we did on the thigh line. Okay, it's the same thing. Place the 4.5 like so at the middle of your dart leg, and then you get your 4.5 this side, and then you get 9 at the other side, and then you connect it together just like the same way we did. So you connect it together like so. Okay, so after connecting it together, this is what we will have. This is what we'll have. The next thing we're going to do is to get our zipper flap. I'm going to cut both the flap together so that it will be easy. When we're doing the sewing method, you will understand how to do this. Please watch out for it. I'll post the video on how I sewed this short, okay? So I'm going to come out by 2 inches for my zipper flap, like so. So I mark 2 inches starting from where my the hip line stopped, okay? So I'll mark 2 inches like so, and then I'll make a straight line, okay? So I make a straight line like so, and then coming to my flap line, I just use a free hand to bend it to connect it to the 2 inches that I came out with, like so. So these 2 inches will be what we will use to fix our zipper easily. So this will now be our new flap or crotch curve, okay? So this will be our new crotch curve for the front part. So I'm trying to blend it well so we can get a perfect curve, okay? So after that, the next thing I'm going to let us know is the pocket is going to be like an English pocket. So you're just going to determine where you want the pocket to stop, if it's 7 inches and all that. I normally use 7 inches. And then you come in by 2 inches, starting from your waist line like that, okay? So when you're sewing, you connect it. This is how the sewing is going to be. You just connect it down from there to the 2 inches. So we might be cutting this off, but for now I'm not going to cut this off. I'll cut this off while I'm sewing, but for the purpose of this drafting, I will not cut that pocket. The 2 inches we will be removing for our pocket, I will not cut it off. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the drafting like so, and our front is ready. So I trim off the other parts at the end, at the upper side. So now we're moving to the back. Our front is ready, so moving to the back. I introduced another pattern paper for the back drafting, and then I pinned down the front pattern on it, just to make it easy for us to draft the back. Now if you notice that we did not add any allowance on the front, is on purpose, it is intentional, okay? Because all the allowances we're going to use to sew this short will be added to the back, not the front. So now, because we have, our boot is fuller than the front, we're going to go up by 2 inches, okay, like so, and then make a slant line. We are not going to go up by 2 inches on the side part, but on the flap side, okay? The sides are the same, but the middle, which is where our butt is always bigger. So if you don't add 2 inches, then it will just be like a low waist, okay? Okay, and then your butt may be showing. So that's why we added these 2 inches and draft a slant line like so to join it to the side, because the sides need to be the same. So I just make a line like this in order to know where it starts. So now the next thing we're going to do will be to add our allowance on it. We're not going to use the same measurement for the front. So I'm supposed to add 2 inches allowance starting from the beginning, but because I've added 2 inches already on the front side for the zipper, which we will not be needing on the front, so that will serve as allowance for the back at this end. So I'm not going to add any other 2 inches at that side. We'll use that as allowance, but there will be no zipper or at the back side. So that zipper allowance will now serve as the normal allowance for the back at that side. So then I come to the thigh length and the hem, and then I come out also by 2 inches like so. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark a straight line, connecting those lines together, starting from the crunch line to the thigh to the hem like this. So I'll be able to know that this is my back line right now. So I'm going to mark a straight line like a guide to show me where the flap started, so that I can connect it to the 2 inches that I added for the back. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to come down by 1/2 inches before I draft my flap curve. Okay, so by 1/2 inches, I came down by 1/2 inches before I draft my crotch curve like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is to now get my curve, okay, like so. I'm going to actually use my free hand to do that. Sometimes the curve that the ruler gives you might not really fit in what you want, so feel free to use your free hand to get the curve you want, okay? So this is how it's going to go. If I go exactly the same way the flap length of the front is, then it's not going to sit well. So that's why you have to come down by 1/2 inches, so that when you're cutting it, it will be, the back will be able to sit well, okay? So after that, notice that by the side, I didn't add any allowance at all at the side. All the allowances I add is this 2 inches allowance add on the front side like so. So whether you're sewing for a plus size or a slim person, 2 inches allowance is always okay. All right, so you don't need to add more allowance. You sew it and it come out perfect. Then the next thing I do is to mark my dart leg on the back. I'm going to be using 5 inches for the dart leg on the back, and then the front is 4 inches. So if I'm sewing the dart, the back I'll use 5 inches, the front I'll use 4 inches, okay? So after that, we're almost ready. for the back. The next thing we're going to do will be to cut. But in case, the reason why we normally put that, in case you're asking why should we put that for a short like this, it's just to have this effect. It brings out the fitting. You see this effect, this wavy effect that I'm getting while holding the two darts together. You see this effect. That is what makes it beautiful. If you decide you don't want to sew it, you can close your darts like this before cutting on your fabric to still have that effect. But it's actually perfect to sew your darts. I'm going to sew mine actually. So after that, the next thing we're going to do is to cut, and that is it. So we just cut, follow this line, come here, and then we follow our allowance, and then we cut the side. The only allowance I gave is just the 2 allowance, and after that the drafting is ready. This is the front and that is the back. So please kindly subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and please kindly look out for the sewing tutorial for this video because it will be uploaded soon. Thank you for watching.